I'm a little flustered for today's episode.
How so?
I mean, what the fuck was JP thinking?
Wait, which part?
Burrow? Dude, I saw that. So I'm driving home from work. I pull up to a red light. I'm like, I need to change this song. And for some reason, instead of doing it on the car, I whip out the phone to change it, right?
Yeah.
Text message, hadn't already received it. It went up, pulled up while I'm changing the song, saying Burrow may have just, what do you say, tore his Achilles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I nearly just switched gears and drove over into the other side of the road. I mean, what a dangerous thing to do. And he sent it around 4:30. Everybody's getting close to getting off work. Terrible.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah. Come on.
I mean,
hold it for later.
And then it turns out it may have just been a cramp.
Yeah, it's like 110
all that
degrees.
For a cramp.
No, he's getting heat sweats in the car.
Oh my god, dude! Because I couldn't investigate.
The whole rest of your drive, your brain just wouldn't stop.
Yeah, I turned it on a song that was kind of upbeat, and I was like, well, this doesn't fit anymore. So then I put it on like Marvin's Room by Drake, and it's just like, just sitting there like, dude, maybe I should call her. I hope Joe. I hope you're all right, man.
He'll pull through,
man. Please, God, I can't do it, Dom. I can't go back to being the Bungles. We gotta keep the momentum building, baby.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA show. Nothing bad ever happens in Utah, and that has been made no more clear than the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals do not practice there. If they did, Burrow would not have potentially, I don't know. I'm not even going to put it out there. I'm not even going to put out there what that injury could be. He would not have cramped up. He would not have cramped up, Yeah. But we're back for another preview. UFC 291 goes down this weekend. Also, Dominic, falling under the radar per usual.
Yeah, of course.
Bellator X Rizin 2. I prefer Bellator versus Rizin 2.
Yeah.
Now, while the quality of the card may not be able to compete with the UFC, it's pretty stacked for Bellator.
There's some fun matchups.
Yeah, very fun. Unfortunately, AJ McKee, we will talk about that. He will no longer be competing in the main event. But otherwise, a great card. Not sure what I'm going to do, though, Dominic. I mean, this might be the best combat sports weekend. If you're someone like me who really is, at this point, I consider myself pretty, I can't quite say hardcore, like my knowledge, but like I'm very hardcore watching boxing. Like I'm watching everything, When you're someone like me who enjoys boxing and MMA, this might be the best combat sports weekend I've ever got to experience live. UFC 291, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, which is, I mean, that's there's no comparison for it in MMA because it just, you never see it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is potentially the fight for the number one pound for pound in the world. And it just, you don't see it in boxing enough. Tuesday morning in Japan, Niowa or however you pronounce it, Inoue.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I hate that I don't know for sure how to pronounce his name. I always said Niowa, and then I heard someone say like Niowa.
Maybe you should just call him Noah. All right.
Anyways.
Fair.
The monster. I love that guy, man. That dude is, I mean, that's a fucking savage right there. I did lose money betting on him to win a decision, which I thought was a smart bet. Trusted the durability of Stephen Fulton, but the monster would not be denied. Bellator Rizin. I mean, it is a stacked weekend, Dominic. I know you are probably more focused on the MMA side of things, which is fair. But does it feel like a pretty big weekend, UFC 291? Oh, yeah. No actual title fights on this card, but yet feeling like maybe one of the biggest cards of the year?
Yeah, it absolutely feels like a massive weekend for combat sports and for eyes to be on all of these beautiful arts, the mixed martial arts, boxing, everything. It's going to be a great weekend, a jam-packed weekend, a very busy weekend. And Noah, this is, from what I'm hearing, of course, I'm not in it like you, but the biggest boxing match since Mayweather Pacquiao. Is that accurate to say?
Ooh, ooh. I don't know. That's wow. I wasn't. I mean, have I ever heard that? Have you heard that?
Maybe it's because I just see it from the MMA people and not the hardcore
No,
boxing
no.
people.
I'm not like I don't. The history of it, I feel so much more comfortable because I know my UFC history, but
Mm-hmm.
boxing history, I have a long ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I will put it like this: as someone who has more recently become into the boxing game, I think it's God. Is it as big as? Yeah, it probably is, Dom, because these two guys have dominated for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been such a frustration in the boxing community that they've never been able to make that fight happen. And now
Mm-hmm.
it happens. They're not too old. I think it's in terms of legacy, I would argue it might even be bigger than
Mm.
Mayweather Pacquiao because that fight always felt like it happened well too late in
Sure.
their careers, and this fight it feels like it's happening right at the last possible moment you can get the most out of it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, that was a long-winded answer for what you were asking me, but big deal.
That's just what I wanted
And
to hear.
and my phone's blowing up, so I'm like kind of Walgreens is calling me right now. I'm not answering.
Oh,
Why do they
hmm.
call me? JP's texting, probably talking some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, this is the longest time it's taken for someone to go to voicemail ever. Let's you know what? I'm gonna blind read this message right now that I just
Okay.
got from JP. So
Live
whatever it
reaction.
said, if he says like, "Yo, Dom, like you got a tiny dick," like I'm reading it.
All right. Fair.
How? Okay. Well, I did text him and said JP is such a fuck. He said, "How am I to fuck?" I was panicking, dog. Shit came at me in all directions, fast in all directions. You're the damn media guy. Where the hell were you at? Fingering your goddamn pussy. Well,
All right. So where can we be found on social media?
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a great time to be. You think JP works for Walgreens? Do you think that was he calling me
That could be. That could be it.
His 3 to 11 shift or whatever he's got going on? I don't
The
know.
burner. Yeah.
Right now is a great time to be following us on social media, to follow us and subscribe to us on all the various platforms because Dominic, the content, it is the change it.
Mm-hmm.
Here soon, we will be kind of sort of moving away from the model that we have set ourselves up for the last 3 years with. Dominic, we are approaching, actually, we're a week away from the 3 year anniversary. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that.
Yeah.
With kind of a perfect time to make the change. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and kind of give a brief little thing again. I know I did it a couple episodes ago. So what we have done for the last 3 years is we do 2 of our show episodes a week,
Mm-hmm.
preview and recap, right? So previews we've always recorded on Wednesday or Thursday,
Yep.
usually Thursday, and release on Friday. There was a little bit of a time where that was
Mm-hmm.
back a day, but you get the point. Recaps always been recorded on Sundays, uploaded Monday. We want to tailor our content to who's watching it where, because the type of people that will watch our content on YouTube may not all have the same type of content that they're looking for compared to someone who finds us on Spotify
Sure.
or TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you go, I think you are looking for a different type and length of content.
Yep.
So in order to kind of fill those needs and try to adapt with the times, Dom, we thought it'd be best that starting sometime after we get back from Nashville, it may be as soon as we get back. Kind of depends on how we're
Mm-hmm.
feeling, But what we're planning to do is instead of recording everything that piles up through day by day for
Yep.
those specific recording days, we're just gonna depending on what comes out, depending on what we want to talk about, we're going to be uploading more often, smaller, and just get it right out to the people, Dominic. So
More timely.
I get home from work today. I see we have like 3 fight announcements from the UFC.
Yep.
A couple happening September 23rd. You got Giga Chikadze and Alex Caceres August 26th. We will talk about that on here, but just hypothetically speaking, if let's say we recorded our preview yesterday.
Sure.
And so we didn't touch on that because we didn't know about it.
Yep.
Well, instead of waiting till Sunday to give our thoughts, we would just hop in a studio real quick, record like a 15-minute video talking about this and have it uploaded the next day.
Correct.
So that's for YouTube purposes. That's how we
Yes.
want to do it on YouTube, where putting out more videos, just breaking up these long form podcasts into videos. So it's still going to look like this.
Yeah.
But it'll be kind of like the podcast clips that you might see if you
more of
been
those
watching a long time. TikTok will be much the same. We love doing the UFC trivia. I think it's a lot of fun. I'll also say for Twitter, follow us there, Instagram, TikTok at the BAJ MMA. Potentially looking at implementing more Twitter spaces since we won't be doing like, recording full card recaps, on Sundays after that. We would like that to maybe, since it would potentially open up those right after the card when everybody's on talking about the fights on social media. I think it'd be great for us to start using Twitter spaces so that people who want to have a conversation about the fights, who want to hear our thoughts, but also give their thoughts, can have a voice in that discussion, Dominic. So for some of these bigger cards, like UFC 291, depending on what me and Dom have planned, we could always hop in a Twitter space, really go over a lot of the big hitters on the card, and then people can join, listen in. They want to submit a question or a thought that they had, or if they want to speak up and give their opinion, that's the time to do it. So that's what we really are wanting to do. And Spotify and Apple, those audio platforms, is where the full length podcast would live. And that's simply taking the clips that come through the week, putting them together there, and then we would kind of fill in the gaps with some recording, intro, some other
transitions,
stuff.
all that.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I figured might as well go over it again. But appreciate everybody's support who's been around here a long time. We're up to 335 subscribers, I think, as it is on YouTube, and quite a bit on Spotify and whatnot. So it's been very fun doing this for about 3 years now, and we ain't stopping.
Only going up.
Did I cover everything, though?
Yes, you did, but we got a lot more to cover now.
Oh, boy, Dom. Let's get in to UFC 291 in your main event. 5 years later, they run it back. This time with silver on the line as the BMF is up for grabs with the retirement of Jorge Masvidal. He will be in attendance to wrap the belt around the waist of the new baddest motherfucker in the UFC. And regardless of your thoughts on the concept and of the actual physical belt, I ain't that hot on it.
Yeah.
But I can't think of two better representatives of this title than Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. Dominic, I'm going to start out with a question here to kind of fill people in on kind of the gap here from when they fought 5 years ago to now. Why is this rematch necessary, in your opinion, considering Poirier did end up knocking out Justin Gaethje the first time they fought?
Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful thing about this rematch is how perfect it is timing-wise, because I love seeing all the stat comparisons going around on like YouTube and Twitter right now. If you look at their fights ever since, the same exact record, 6-2, the same 2 losses, Charles Oliveira and Khabib, both by submission. They're beating the same guys. When you look at like Michael Chandler's and stuff, it is amazing the similarities that these two have. The fight styles that they have make them perfect representatives for this BMF title. We talked about this being the perfect fight, I think, in like March. I was going back on TikTok and looking today, and now we're here in July. It's happening. Whether you like the belt or not, this is a real deal rematch with huge implications. Look away from that silver BMF belt. This is number 2 in the world versus number 3 in the world, hoping for their chance to get back into the title talk if they can win on Saturday night. There's no better fight to make right now in the lightweight division. There's not a fight that makes more sense to make right now in the lightweight division than this fight. You add in all those factors, all the similarities, 2 fan favorite fighters, so many eyeballs on this one right here, Noah. Do you agree? Is that why this is the perfect rematch?
Yeah, let's sum it up like this. A combined 41 finishes in their professional MMA careers. I mean, say less. Yeah. Dominic, the thing that always scares me about a fight like this is when you feel like you have something that is in MMA that's 100%, that's a given, that you can take it to the bank, it always feels like something goes wrong. But I can't think of a fight. If there was 2 guys that someone was like, who just put together 2 guys that are going to deliver just a great fight. I don't know if there'd be 2 people I would put above Gaethje and Poirier here. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've seen it before and it was amazing, but they've both improved vastly.
They really have.
That first fight. Yeah. You've seen the kind of identity change from Justin Gaethje, who, yes, he still leans into what he's capable of with his hands and just offensively all around what he's capable of. But he's much less chaotic and
reckless. Yeah.
Reckless. He definitely can still get to that point, but more defensively sound, more technical. He's improved tenfold, and Dustin Poirier has too, man. I mean, this guy just carries himself like a champion. He may not be the champion of the division, but those Conor fights really, maybe even before that, maybe it's the Max Holloway fight when he won that interim title. Something changed in Dustin Poirier, to where he doesn't really let the lights, the talk, the big moment really get to him or affect him. He really is just there to deliver a KO, a performance of the night, and leave, and that's pretty much it. And I think it's done him very well because of that. But let's talk about Dominic, kind of the betting lines for this one, maybe real quick. Dustin Poirier is a slight favorite, -145. Justin Gaethje, a +125, Dominic. I was thinking back on my lunch break today to when Justin Gaethje fought in March in London, how much he was being overlooked in that Rafael Fiziev.
He really was. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as someone who didn't count him out. I did as well. I thought Fiziev was going to pretty much end the career of Justin Gaethje. I thought that might be it for him. And Gaethje, whether you thought he won or lost, that man fought tooth and nail to that decision victory. And it's kind of, in my opinion, it's made this line a lot closer. It's made this more of an ideal fight to make at this point in time. Dustin Poirier, it seems like everybody sort of expects to still be Dustin Poirier. But I think Justin Gaethje, by winning that fight the way he did against Fiziev, by still showing he can go to war and nobody's better to do it than him, then now you have to look at this fight kind of like you probably did in 2018, where you go, I really have no idea where I'm leaning in this fight. How do you kind of look at these lines, Dominic? I mean, do you think either of these guys have a serious competitive edge over the other?
No, I think that's another reason why it is such a perfect fight, right? I mean, I don't. If Dustin is a -145, which he is, I don't have an issue. If Justin Gaethje would have came in at a -145, I don't think I would bat an eye at that either, because of having a win over someone like Fiziev and what he was looked at in terms of his potential, and even still has tons of potential. We're going to even talk about him here later. I wouldn't have been surprised either way that these lines were going down. I think maybe because Dustin has that win, right? Maybe that is the tipping point, if you will, to make these odds what they are. And like you said, they both have definitely improved, but I feel like we've been able to see at least more improvement, more changes on the side of Justin Gaethje, and I think that's why it makes it very intriguing to me. Maybe that's why someone plays a plus 125 on Gaethje, because we've seen them both have all this success, even both become interim champions. But there's something about this recent stretch in Gaethje. You look at that Chandler fight, you look at his win over Fiziev. There's something to the way that he has adjusted his fight style that could help him with a guy like Dustin, who, yeah, Dustin can brawl, but he's very technically sound. He's a very smart, intelligent boxer. He's defensively sound. And now that Justin has closed that gap a little bit, I'm not saying he's up to par, but he's closed that gap. It makes this fight all that more interesting, all that more intriguing.
I would argue that possibly some of the reason why the improvements are more noticeable in Justin Gaethje is that I would argue he was the guy that had more holes in his game at that time.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
Poirier definitely wasn't perfect. I mean, he's obviously improved since then. He wasn't that far removed from being knocked out by Michael Johnson at that point, if I remember right. So obviously he's come a long way, and he's never been done that to since. Like he's been incredible. I still look at the big advantage here for Poirier is his composure in these kind of fights, like what you expect to get out of here. Justin Gaethje definitely switches a gear when he gets into a war, when he knows he's going to war with somebody. Something flips, and against a guy like Fiziev, it worked. But also look at how he fared against Charles Oliveira, Dominic. He dropped Charles twice in that fight, and he looked absolutely overwhelmed. He started headhunting. He started going back to those old habits. They die hard. That's saying, right? I still feel like this line is a pretty good summary of what I expect here. I think it's going to be very competitive. Be on the lookout for a lot of leg kicks from Justin Gaethje. I went back and watched the first fight. I didn't realize how hurt Poirier was. That fight was not looking like it was going to go Poirier's way necessarily, and then he was able to uncork a friggin' missile that had Gaethje on wobbly street. I don't know how long it goes. Maybe I should ask you about the Utah effect. I'm sure that's something we'll be talking about a lot on this card.
Yeah.
For either one of these guys, could you see them either having a game plan in mind that maybe says, look, we got to try to get out of here early because the longer it goes, the harder it's going to be? And do you just think those elements will affect either one of them?
I would like to think that these two can go to war regardless of where they're fighting, whether it's 10,000 feet below or above sea level. But Gaethje does have that advantage. He trains in Colorado. He's used to elevation. Dustin Poirier trains in Florida. I know he's been sleeping with like the altitude chamber at home. I've seen there's a workout guy that I follow that's done that before for marathons and stuff, where you basically sleep in like this tent over your head, and you can like put in what elevation you want to sleep at. It's weird, but it helps your lungs get prepared. I know he's been out there doing runs and stuff in the mountains, but it's different to go there for a couple weeks and live there and train there every single day. So I think, all in all, if it goes over the course of 5 rounds, maybe Gaethje does have the upper hand in this one, but Poirier is such a dog. I don't feel like I don't feel or foresee where he would wilt under that, but it may just become a factor. And if it does, that's where Gaethje's biggest opening could potentially arise.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like with Gaethje, you have to say if someone has an advantage, it might be him, because Colorado, where he trains, that's even a higher elevation than Utah. So, I mean, he's even he probably feels great over there in Utah.
The Mile High City, right?
Obviously, Dustin Poirier doesn't have that advantage. But like I said earlier, he carries himself like a champion. I just don't expect him to come in here ill-prepared for that.
Yep.
It's happened. We look back, remember Cain Velasquez, and that's how he sort of crumbled a couple different times in his career, was not taking that seriously, the altitude. I don't expect Dustin to fall into that trap. I really don't.
Yeah, I would agree.
Not with the BMF on the line. I mean, come on.
The biggest belt in combat sports, right?
Let me ask you something. This might be a question for Monday, but I don't want to be spoiled by like Dana White answering this at a press conference because I can just see it now. It's going to be asked, and then I'm not going to be able to ask you, even though, I mean, is everything Dana says true? I mean, after the first time this fight happened with Masvidal and Diaz, he did say it would never be defended again.
Yeah.
I expect him to say the same thing after this fight.
Sure.
But let me ask you, Dom, will this title ever be defended again in the UFC or be fought for again?
I would say so. I think if they're going to do them, I kind of like the way it is transpired. Jorge had it. He retired. He's putting the belt on the winner of this one. Poirier and Gaethje don't have a ton longer left in their careers. They retire. Let's put it up for grabs again. If we're going to do it, let's do it that way. It makes it feel at least a little bit more important, a little bit more special. Let's not start making it a trend here. Let's not defend it 1, 2, 3 times a year or even once a year. I feel like it's too much. I like this. It makes it feel a little bit more important. It's more special. It allows more time to build like, oh, wait, I forgot that was a thing. Let me go look at the first fight. Let me go look at this fight when it's time for the third. I think this, if we're going to do it again, we keep it exactly how it happened for this go round.
So you're saying every time it's defended, it's when the guy who's holding it sort of retires or something? Is that what you're kind of
I think that would be a perfect one. I mean, obviously someone young could take it and change that, but it feels perfect this way. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've this fight doesn't need it.
No.
And therefore, if a fight's not either if a guy who, how am I trying to word this? Word vomit's coming out right now. If you're not a champion and you're not in a position to fight for a title, and a fight is not vastly improved by having a title in it, then why do it? Like I don't understand why the UFC were so reluctant to just give this the headlining spot.
This could have headlined a pay-per-view without it. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. 100.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the quality of the fight here and not just that, but these are two guys. I mean, Dustin Poirier, I think it's a little under the radar how much of a star that guy has become following those Conor McGregor fights.
Sure.
I'm not saying you want to make a habit out of putting him on a card with no title fight and having him headline, but with Justin Gaethje, 2 action fighters who have built the reputation for themselves for that reason.
Yeah.
The BMF's unnecessary.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hate on it because it's so unnecessary that like it being there does not take away from it either. But I'm just saying, I would rather it just die after this. Like, it is cool that they are bringing in Jorge to wrap it around the waist. I think that's a nice little touch. I mean, it makes more sense. Like, hey, man, I know we love The Rock, but it really didn't make any sense for The Rock to be wrapped. I mean, The Rock's a bad motherfucker. Right? I mean, The Rock's a bad motherfucker, but when I think of like a baddest motherfucker, and especially when you look at Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal and kind of their styles, The Rock is like the least of that in the WWE.
Yeah.
Like I feel like maybe that's something like Mike Tyson comes in and does.
I saw they even did a promo for this card with him, as a matter of fact.
Oh, they did? Oh, that's
he did like a voiceover. So
I'll have to look that up. But yeah, this fight's gonna deliver. I sure hope. Again, I get nervous with the Dominic. I get nervous with the nothing is guaranteed in this sport.
This is the one I feel like you could put the guarantee on.
No. Don't you dare. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you dare. Because I have still had nightmares about Yuri Prohaska by submission and Zhang Wei Li by I think submission.
3 seconds.
Oh, yeah, her versus Joanna too. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking of the Carla Esparza.
Fight. Yeah.
Nothing is a guarantee in this sport. So I'm just saying, though, this is as close as you can get to one.
There you go. Perfect.
But it's not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
I mean, we could get like Dom, imagine like an Aspinall Blade situation. What do you think? What is it? What do you think those people in Utah would do? Do you think they'd riot in the streets? Post
Potentially.
Malone lives in Utah, doesn't he?
He does live in Utah. Yep.
If there was a riot in Utah, I'm talking havoc on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
No police in sight.
Mm,
Or maybe they're there, but they're overwhelmed.
sure.
They're not prepared for this now.
Right.
They just wanted to have a family and,
Yeah.
just live a normal life. Now all of a sudden they're in a riot.
Yeah.
Would you take that opportunity to go to Post Malone's ranch and force him to be friends with you?
That's an easy yes. You knew that was going to come out from me there.
Just imagine Post Malone looking out his, I don't know how many stories his ranch is, but I'm just imagine him like on a balcony. And he just looks over and you're just holding up a sign, just says like, I want to be your friend or something. You're playing a jukebox. It's kind of, people would look at it and go like, what, is he trying to make him his girlfriend or something? This is weird,
like rock at the window situation.
But your intent on that would be in the right place.
Of course.
Anyways, co-main event time, Dominic. This, you ready for a hot take?
Sure.
This is my most anticipated fight of the weekend.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm here for
and
that.
I will admit, there's a pretty good chance it's not the most exciting fight of the weekend.
Yeah, good point.
But it's the one I'm most invested in.
Very intrigued.
I think there's the most at stake here.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm talking about is the former light heavyweight champion, Polish Power himself, Mystic P's, maybe second favorite fighter behind McGregor.
And Doppelganger.
Blachowicz. Yes, and Doppelganger. That's right. Although he did look like those pictures of him without the beard.
Yeah, without the beard.
Our buddies, Jake and Nick brothers, did that not look like literally?
Yeah, the first one was big time. Yeah.
Well, Jan Blachowicz, back 40 years old, still doing his thing. And he is welcoming the former middleweight champion, Alex Pereira, having a pretty quick turnaround for a guy who got knocked out cold in his last fight.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out something here, that's for sure, because Jamal Hill's out as the UFC light heavyweight champion. We thought this fight could get bumped to a title fight. UFC decided to move away from that and say the winner of this will be in that vacant title fight. Dominic, out of all the storylines for this one, the belt, Pereira's debut, does Blachowicz still have it? What kind of fight are we going to get here? I want to ask you. That wasn't the question. That's just another storyline.
Question within the...
The question is, which storyline are you most interested in finding out?
Well, betting bias included, all eyes for me are on Alex Pereira's debut at 205 pounds. How's he going to look? How's he going to fill out? Talking about a guy that's a world-class kickboxer, glory kickboxing champion, knocked out Israel Adesanya to become a middleweight champion. And he was powerful at 185 pounds. How powerful is this man about to be at 205 pounds? I really feel like this is probably the weight class for him. This is a big dude, 6'4", very muscular, very ripped. He's going to honestly probably look bigger than Jan Blachowicz. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm very intrigued to look at weigh-ins tomorrow, and then once they're filled out again for the ceremonials. But that's where it's at for me. How's Alex going to look? How's he going to fill out? And this is not an easy welcome fight to the division, a former champion, someone who has beaten Israel Adesanya, who's a very similar style to Alex, and did it with relative ease. Not super easy, but he found success, and when he found it, he kept going to it over and over again. Now, I'm sure we're going to get into that. Can Alex fight that off? Can he keep it as his fight? If Alex keeps it as his fight, then he has to avoid the legendary Polish Power. There's a lot of things Alex is going to have to do here to show here. And if he can and he wins, he's going to be fighting for a second UFC title, all before having what will be his 10th total MMA fight, Noah.
It's impressive, man. I remember when he made his debut and even his second fight. Bruno Silva's really good.
Yeah.
But to get that decision victory, against a guy that was fought mostly on the feet. Yes, he rocked Silva in the third round. But I was kind of like, I think I probably even said it on the pod. Now there's no like, oh, I might have said this back
There's
then.
receipts
There's
somewhere.
evidence. There's receipts. Like I can't hide from it. But I'm gonna guess I was telling everybody to pump the brakes on him versus Adesanya. I was like, come on, guys, like that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Then he knocks out Sean Strickland the way he did, and I was all for it, but I was still like, this fighting. I mean, let's still keep our expectations in check. Then he knocked out Israel Adesanya, and my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
And you would think it's like, should it have been? Obviously, in hindsight, it's like, no, it shouldn't have been. I mean, it was a very winnable fight for either man going in. But yeah, I'm just so impressed by what Alex Pereira has already accomplished and what he's on the verge of accomplishing in such a short amount of time. And it has to be the biggest storyline for this fight, Dominic. I mean, there's so many. I listed off a few of them. I think they each have a very interesting element. Blachowicz, once again, being underestimated, I think, by a lot of people, including Dominic himself.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the early storylines of this podcast was me constantly counting out Jan Blachowicz or overlooking him for different challengers and him just putting them away just one after another.
Sure.
I think that's interesting. I think the style that this fight will be fought with is going to be very intriguing. That's why I'm saying I can't guarantee that this fight will be explosive or amazing. But whichever way, we're going to find out a lot in round one. I can tell you that. The fight might be over before the end of round one.
We're going to know the winner in round one. Even if the fight doesn't end in round one, we're going to know the winner.
But what I will say is the comparisons for Alex Pereira moving up to Israel Adesanya, I think, are being a little overstated. I see what people are getting at. Both former middleweight champions, both obviously big-time kickboxers. They have quite a history together. We all know this. Adesanya went up, didn't really take the time to get his body more into that frame of a 205-pounder, and he paid the price for it. Going up against a much bigger man in Jan Blachowicz, who was able to wrestle him and just kept going back to it. Alex Pereira is much bigger, is a much more natural 205-pounder. I am not concerned with how Pereira is necessarily going to fill out power-wise or I mean, I don't know what else here. The comparisons to Izzy going up, I think, are a little overstated. Like this idea that, well, he's going up against 205-pounders, so since they're all bigger, Blachowicz is just going to be able to like take him down and hold him down. I'm like, well, I mean, that could happen, but I don't think it's because Pereira is used to being 185 pounds and when he weighs in. I don't think that's really why that is. I will say what's interesting is I do think Pereira's power is going to hold up very well moving up 20 pounds. I think if anything, it might be even more devastating.
Yes.
But he is going up against a lot bigger guys, and Jan Blachowicz included. It is a much bigger guy than probably anybody Pereira's fought in MMA. So Blachowicz, while he may be, a little slower, so Pereira might be able to use that speed to catch him, he is going to have more of that strength in those exchanges in the clinch or in the grappling exchanges. And we know Pereira, Dominic, I mean, call a spade. Pereira does not have great grappling defense up to this point.
That's true.
Israel Adesanya was able to wrestle him down. That's just, it's a fact, in my opinion, that it's just, he has obviously not been in full-time MMA that long. He has done incredible considering his limitations. And I still think he's got a lot left in him despite his limitations. And I don't ever expect him to be a great grappler or a guy who, when someone is committed to the shot, I think they're going to get it a lot of times, especially at this weight class. However, or to summarize everything I just said, I don't foresee Jan Blachowicz coming out here and being able to do to Pereira what he did to Izzy. I don't
I
think
don't
it's going to
either.
happen that way.
Yeah.
I don't believe. You can convince me he'll be able to take Pereira down. I could see that. Might even bet it. I don't know. Feeling a little frisky. I don't know.
Yeah.
However, I think the Utah element is a factor here for sure.
I'll agree. Yeah.
Blachowicz trying to wrestle for 25 minutes against Pereira, it doesn't sound like a great time for either guy.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's how it goes, Dominic. I think Blachowicz is coming in here potentially looking to mix it up for sure.
I think
But
so.
I do think he's going to look to strike with Pereira. I do.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think he's going to look to keep it on the feet all the time. I think he wants to keep him guessing. One thing you're going to want to try to neutralize if you're out Jan Blachowicz is the leg kicks of Pereira. And I think by mixing in some shots, some takedowns with some striking exchanges, will keep him honest and keep him more of a one-note striker. You basically just using his hands, not wanting to risk getting his leg caught, taken to the ground. But the longer those exchanges go on the feet, Pereira's left hand is going to catch him, man.
He's going to see the opening. Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen the video, I'm sure, on Twitter of the openings for Blachowicz on the counter with the left hand. I mean, it's really just tailor-made for Pereira.
Yeah.
I will not be shocked if Jan Blachowicz wins this fight, but I do not foresee it being the same way it happened to Izzy.
I feel like I think we're getting the same way.
We're getting a finish here.
I think so. I really do. Yeah. I think a lot of people even underestimate Jan's finishing power. Yeah. Not his power, but his ability to get a finish. I know people talk about the Polish power, but he does set them up and he does have good abilities to get those finishes. But yes, we are two peas in a pod here in the way that we're thinking and approaching this fight. And I think that's interesting. And I agree with everything you said. And the questions are just, I mean, again, I said all my focus and the questions are for Alex, but Jan, like, I feel like there's a way for him to win this with minimal damage, not as many problems. But like you just said, I don't know if he's looking to do that. I don't know if he can do that at elevation for 3 rounds. I don't know if he can. And if he's striking, that's risky business. And I know he's got power, and Alex hasn't felt 205 power, right? You know, I get that. But the openings, I feel like offensively for Alex will be more than the openings that he will present for Jan to have back.
I apologize. I realized I said 25 minutes earlier. I meant 15 minutes.
But even if it's 15, right? No difference.
It's going to feel like 25.
It could.
That's what I meant. No, I'm really trying to not count out Jan Blachowicz here, and I really don't think I am. To me, this fight on the odds, like, I know you looked at it and was like, wow, like Blachowicz is the favorite. Yeah. I think Blachowicz should be the favorite. He's the guy that we know who he is as a light heavyweight, and he has arguably more avenues to win. I mean, who's to say? I mean, we're talking about the striking as if that's some severe mismatch, but Blachowicz is a very talented striker, and he's got great knockout power, and he is 205 pounds. This is the first time Pereira is going to face that. It is not an advantage for him to stay in that area for too long, but if he knocked out Pereira, I would not be absolutely like dumbfounded.
No.
The most dumbfounding way this fight ends, in my opinion, is a decision. And I think a lot of people are going to think Blachowicz is going to be able to do that. And I just don't think that's what he's coming in here looking to do.
I could see Alex winning a decision before Jan. Yeah.
Whoa, okay. That might be crazier. Actually, you took it one. We've been passing the ball back and forth.
And then there it was.
You just took it like one step too far. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is interesting, though, Dom, I will say, but I think you're fucking high.
On to the rest.
Yeah. Let's move into the rest of UFC 291.
The whole card, man.
I mean, yeah, this card pretty good. Pretty good. Dominic, where do you want to start?
Down the line. Wonder Boy Thompson. I got to
Yeah.
go there first, I think,
Hey, late
because
addition to the main card, right? This is the one that
yeah,
replaced
and as it
Costa
should be.
Ikram. Yeah.
They should be on the main card. And this is interesting here. Michel Pereira, 29 years old, looks 43, fighting against Stephen Thompson, who is a legitimate 40-year-old. I heard GC throwing around some of those age stats like you talk about sometimes on here, and how the younger guy, especially with a 10-year discrepancies, has like a 13-1 record or something crazy. I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was something like that. But I'm going to be honest with you here. And Michel, man, hey, 5-fight win streak. He's looked better and better. He's really calmed down from doing flips and shit in the cage and become a more complete, smart fighter. I struggle to see him, the way that he fights, working against Stephen Thompson. I'm struggling to see him win that way. Stephen Thompson arguably just had the best performance of his career at 39 going on 40 against Kevin Holland. It was a beautiful performance. Then you look at a win before that when he beat Jeff Neal. It was one of his best performances of his career. This man's aging like a fine wine. No wonder he looks so damn good to be 40 years old. I can only hope to look that good when I'm 40 years old. And Michel Pereira loves to strike and do this with the guys, and I don't think that's his path here. But I feel like that's what he's going to think. If he tries to grapple, it could be a different story. But again, let's talk about elevation here. Can he, a guy that is shown to not have a good gas tank even in the past, you add in elevation and think he's going to try and grapple Wonder Boy? I don't know if that's a good combination. I'm all over Wonder Boy at a minus 150 price tag, Noah.
Whoa.
What are you thinking on this fight?
Okay, that's bold in my opinion. I don't hate it. Like, I don't think it's like terrible. I'm not like all over Pereira at his price. I can confirm I don't have any action on this fight yet. I do not have everything ready to go. What I'll say is, I believe some of the points you made about Pereira, there is some evidence or patterns over his last couple fights to sort of say that you're maybe overlooking some changes he's made.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe he's a more complete fighter here.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a better striker, but he, over his last couple of fights, has landed multiple takedowns in each fight. He's a much bigger guy naturally.
He's huge.
I think that plays a factor. When you were talking about Stephen Thompson, how great he looked against Kevin Holland and Jeff Neal, valid points. But you did kind of skip over those two fights in between those, the Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad fight, which are the styles that's the playbook, right? For how to beat him at this point. And Kevin Holland, whether people like it or not, Kevin Holland basically went in there and said he basically fought against how he should to get a win. And he even admitted it. He said, I just wanted to strike and have a war. He literally, didn't he do like a handshake agreement with Wonder Boy about not taking each other down?
That sounds like something that could have happened, yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And Wonder Boy's like, well, fuck yeah, I won't take you down, I promise. And again, it was a great fight. Wonder Boy looked awesome. He still had to go in there and win against a really talented guy in Kevin Holland. But it's just worth noting. I'm saying all this not to say like, oh, I'm super big on Pereira as the underdog here. I do think that this would be the biggest win of his career by far. The gas tank is definitely something that is probably the most noteworthy thing you mentioned. Like, I think that's still something that could play a big factor when you, of course, like we keep talking about, bring in the Utah effect. I think his gas tank has gotten better over his last couple of fights. You know, I remember when he had that fight against, I saw this going around Twitter too, but when he fought Tristan Connolly, I think this was in Canada, it was like 2018, 2019. They showed him in the back before his fight, and he's like throwing all these high knee, like flying knees, and doing all these spinning kicks, like gassed himself out before the fight even started. I think he's not that guy anymore, Dom. He's not the guy that's doing the backflips, you know, when he's got a fighter down on the ground. He has showed a much more composed and just all around more effective style of fighting. It's not been the most exciting over his last couple. I mean, the Fiallo fight was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Nico Price and Ponzinibbio fights, I don't really remember those being like, maybe the Ponzinibbio fight might have been okay. I don't remember it, but I remember that Nico Price fight wasn't all that great. I think he's a very live dog here. I think the value, if I had to lean away, like on the lines wise, I'm taking that plus money on Pereira.
Dog or pass. Yeah.
But I will admit, like, it's fair because even at 40 years old, it's like, it's Michel Pereira taking on Stephen Thompson.
Big jump, too.
It's a big jump.
Well.
Like, Pereira has yet to prove that he can fight someone of
Ranked.
Wonderboy's caliber. And
yeah,
old habits die hard, like I said about Gaethje. Who's to say that he doesn't fall in love with the moment? Maybe the crowd gets really into it. All of a sudden, this guy's gyrating and doing backflips in the cage. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
Also, like,
that's a good fight.
even though he's that much bigger, because another thing with Wonderboy, the biggest hindrance to him is not like with his age, is he's gotten a little slower.
Yeah.
And for a guy that depends on his movement so much to evade the shot and be able to counter and all that, he's a little slower to the point where he's getting caught a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Holland fight, he was busted up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's been busted up before. Even the Jeff Neal fight was the one where he got busted up, even though he won like every round. You've seen it a little bit more and more where he's starting to get busted up a little bit, starting to get caught a little bit more. But Michel Pereira, for being as big as he is, he does have 10 wins via knockout, Dom, but I don't really see the one punch power.
He can like explode, athletically, but doesn't, like you said, have that power.
Like if he catches you with one of those flying knees or spinning roundhouse kicks,
that's probably a different story.
That's all she wrote. But typically those are not set up very well. And when it comes to his actual exchanging on the feet, I don't think he's got like crazy power. So I think his size will mostly be an advantage in grappling. But you're right. The Utah effect may play a big factor here.
Yeah, I want and I could see him getting a takedown, but can he keep Wonderboy down for 2 out of 3 rounds technically to win? I don't know. I feel strongly on Wonderboy going in. We'll see if I feel that way Saturday.
I'm curious your thoughts on this next one, Dominic. Tony Ferguson taking on Bobby Green. Tony Ferguson, we all know the story. He's lost 5 fights in a row. 3 of those in that span have been via finish. He recently, I'm just kind of mentioning this to paint the full picture. He had that incident where he was driving while under the influence and he turned his truck over, I think. You've had some mental health stuff with Tony. I'll be honest, I'm a little uncomfortable with this fight.
That's fair.
I'm excited for it. I'm hoping for the best, but I unfortunately am also expecting the worst here. But I can't help, Dominic, that DraftKings, really Vegas in general. These lines threw me for a loop, man.
Yeah.
Because I love Bobby Green. But Bobby Green being that big of a favorite over anybody in the UFC.
And we're talking almost minus 400 here.
Yeah, I mean, that feels inflated.
Yeah.
Even despite however anybody thinks Tony may have looked, or you factor in he's 39, 5 straight losses, all that. Bobby Green is very exciting to watch. He's a very fun guy to watch. He's good. I mean, the win over Ali Quina and Nasrat Haqparast, and he took that fight with Islam Makhachev on like a week notice or something. I love the guy, but he hasn't exactly looked that great. He looked good against Drew Dober until he got caught. The Jared Gordon fight was a weird one. You had thought it was a finish for Bobby, and then it turned out it was a headbutt that caused it. So.
And he didn't look great in that one. Really.
No, I thought he looked kind of bad.
Yeah.
Actually.
Especially because Jared Gordon was striking with him.
Yeah. So I look at this fight, Dominic, and it's so tempting to jump on that Tony Ferguson line. I mean, Vegas is so obvious with trying to bait people into taking Tony here. And yet I want to do it so bad.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's the most likely outcome here is that that's a waste of money.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sure to let you know because I took the bait. The hook's in my
Oh
mouth.
boy, you did. Oh,
I'm
you
sorry,
crazy son
guys.
of a bitch! I
But
love it, Dom.
plus 300 against Bobby Green in 2023. I think that's crazy. Yeah, Tony Ferguson's lost 5 in a row. Yeah, the last one was against Nate Diaz, but holy shit. I mean, look at the competition that he's still losing to. These are still really good fighters at the end of the day. And I'd like to think, Bobby Green's lost 4 out of his last 6. Drew Dober, and Thiago Moises. I'd like to think those two at least Tony Ferguson could hang with and maybe even beat. So I still, and maybe Tony has nothing left. Maybe he has absolutely zero left to give and left to offer. But damn it, I'm going to find out. And I'm going to take the chance on this odds to find out because this is a jump back from, the Gaethjes and the Oliveras that Tony has losing to on this streak. This is Bobby Green, who in his last fight did not look too good, has lost a lot of fights recently, is getting up there in age as well. I maybe the only worry for me here is that if Tony is trying to like straight up just strike and box without mixing it up, probably going to run into some problems. But if Tony just mixes it up even a little bit with some kicks and some of those wild elbows, do me some fucking Armanari rolls or however you call it, maybe mix in some takedowns, I'm very intrigued and think that a plus 300 is not a bad bet. Maybe people are thinking I'm an idiot, and I'll accept that if it's egg on my face if he loses, but I couldn't. I had to do it.
Right.
I had to play this, and if he proves me wrong, that's okay. I'm fine going down with a plus 300 ticket.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all, Dominic. I think it takes. I mean, I don't. It's clearly like they're trying to bait people into doing it, but I think Dominic, when you look at the story of this fight, so much is being made about the struggles of Tony Ferguson, and it's fair. It's completely fair.
Mm-hmm.
But it's making everybody like blind to the fact that Bobby Green's not exactly in this like best spot either.
Yeah.
He's been acting a little strange. He's going to get his name legally changed to King.
King
Green. Yeah, like no, just King, not Green.
Oh, just King.
Just King. Which will be very interesting to see if Bruce Buffer is able to just
King.
King. That's it.
There you
go. I'm not trying to say Bobby Green has like some mental health issues or I'm not trying to like say anything like that. But the performances in the octagon have been, I think the best way to put it has been mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue his Rafael Fiziev performance was like one of the best I've ever seen him look, and that was in a loss.
Yep.
Ali Quina to knock him out in round 1. Looked great. Yeah. Nasrat Haqparast, he looked awesome. Obviously, the Islam fight, he took it on such short notice. It's a mismatch. You get it. Drew Dober, I thought he looked pretty good until he got caught. It's just the Jared Gordon one. So I think it clearly Bobby Green has looked a lot better than Tony Ferguson has over their last 5 fights. But you make a good point, the competition, right? Tony has basically fought all the best of his division, and then Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
And I thought in the Nate Diaz fight, I've never seen so many different opinions on a fight than that one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people said they were so disappointed by Tony.
You know what's so weird about that fight? Not only did I like the fight, I thought Tony looked pretty good in the fight. Is that I don't know if I'm crazy. I thought he had moments. It was a weird fight. Don't get me wrong.
It was definitely weird.
And maybe it was more that Nate just looked worse than he had previously. But I thought Tony did better than I expected him to do. And yes, he did end up getting submitted, which you wouldn't have thought. But all I'm just trying to say is it doesn't look great for Tony, but it's Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. Everybody keeps talking about how in 2019, if you put those odds in front of someone, they'd be like, the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not even like, they're like, that's not even a real thing. That could never be the case.
Yeah.
We're here. It's time we find out. Is that really how it is?
There it is.
Because they're baiting everybody to do it. But I don't blame anybody for taking it. Because if he wins, who gets the last laugh? Dominic.
Oh, I'll be chuckling. Don't you worry.
Be chuckling. All right, next fight here, Dominic. To open our pay-per-view, I'm rocking the shirt. Kevin Holland. We already talked about him. Trail Blazer, Big Mouth himself. Also rocking the war hat. Shout out Dustin Poirier. I forgot to mention that. Hopefully, someone's probably already commented by now by like how dumb it is for a guy like me to wear that hat. That's kind of the point. I get it. I do not belong in this hat, but I had to wear it for this. I will wear it while watching the fight Saturday, but I will never wear this in public. I do not belong in it. But it's a cool hat. I can't.
Yeah, it is.
Kevin Holland taking on Michael Chiesa, an interesting one here. Not the kind of fight I would expect to see Kevin Holland take, if I'm being honest, Dominic.
Mhm.
Seems like a bad matchup for him in some ways.
One
And
would
also,
think.
not that Kevin Holland's against, taking on a bad matchup, but it just seems like he's a guy that's looking to scrap, looking to have fun fights. Chiesa clearly has had some fun fights, but also is a guy really looking to get himself back on track and get back in the win column and try to make it one more run probably before it's time to hang him up. He's 35. He's a great wrestler. He's lost 2 in a row. This is a big fight for him. He's going to be looking to come in here and win a fight no matter how entertaining it is.
Mm.
So it's a weird matchup. 2 guys with completely different motivations, and I'm not sure who that favors. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you have someone who you favor based off the mindset, the mentality that they come in here with?
I think this is one of the harder fights on the card to get a good read on, to be honest. I think it's a tough one. Maybe some would think on paper, like, oh, well, I mean, it seems simple, right? Michael should look to wrestle and Kevin should look to keep it on the feet. Yeah, all in all, I guess that's accurate. But I don't know. There's something about this one that I could not really feel confident either way. Kevin Holland's had some weird, wacky performances as of late, in some of those losses. And I know one of them's even to Hamzat, which is weird and it doesn't make sense. But still, just some of his performances are a little strange. But you look at the other side, Chiesa hasn't even fought since November of 2021, and it is a 2-fight skid that Noah mentioned. One of them, of course, a finish even by Luque. But, and this is going to sound, kind of, I don't know, petty, but you look at that Sean Brady fight, remember how Chiesa finished that fight and how incredible he came on in that third round. And I don't know if he's just had injuries or was just wanting to take some time away, but I like this comeback spot for Chiesa. I know Kevin is like a minus 140, so Chiesa's plus 120-ish. I'd say that's fair, but I just can't get a read on this fight. Do you lean any way? Do you have any even inkling of a prediction of how this fight can go? Is it as simple as Chiesa should look to grapple, Kevin should look to strike? Is it that simple?
No, it's not that simple. It is on behalf of Chiesa, because I know you just mentioned how he came back against Sean Brady. He will not be able to do that against Kevin Holland. That will be bad.
Yeah.
That would be a bad thing to do. He should crotch sniff till the end of till the next day. That's what he should be doing. Get this fight to the ground by any means necessary. And I'm not saying that because Kevin Holland is some supremely devastating striker, but Dominic, we are talking about about a 6.5-inch reach advantage here. Kevin Holland's a very big, long guy.
Mm-hmm.
He does have power. He is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not wild. He's pretty talented on the feet, I guess I'll just say. Chiesa has a clear advantage. Take this fight down. But I have this fight is so hard to predict and yet so vivid in my mind of what I think is going to happen here, Dominic.
Ooh, okay.
I think Michael Chiesa has some early success with takedowns. Dare I say he even potentially takes round 1 by just controlling. Maybe a little bit of ground and pound, but mostly just control. Not the most exciting. I think round 2, he'll get another takedown early this time. And it's like, oh, shit, this is how this fight's going to go. They're kind of doing that for a couple minutes. But Dominic, I think Chiesa is going to start to slow down a little bit. Perhaps I'm overstating this Utah effect, but it affected everybody last year when they fought. And I think he's going to start to get a little more tired, and he's going to be not being very active. And Kevin Holland's going to be really being active, trying to get back to his feet. And Dominic, I think he's going to get back up. They're going to be standing. I think Kevin Holland's going to start laying bombs on Chiesa, and Chiesa's going to go for a pretty bad shot. And then that's when Kevin Holland chokes him out.
Oh, this would make for a fantastic clip, by the way.
It-
Hindsight, of course.
It would. So round 2, Kevin Holland submission. That's the official prediction.
Okay. I'm here for that. I like that prediction.
But would not surprise me if Chiesa won. I do think the odds for this fight make sense. Actually, I kind of almost feel like it should be the other way. Like I think the Kevin Holland being so hard to
get a read
down.
on. Yeah.
Well, you said that about his performances. I will say he has been better at being consistent as of late. The Stephen Thompson fight's the huge outlier in his last 5 fights, and the Hamzat one shouldn't even count, really.
Mm-hmm.
He got dominated, but I mean that card,
that fight week,
all asterisks all around.
Yeah.
That card. But Ponzinibbio was his last fight. He knocked him out cold. That was an awesome knockout.
Yeah, he looked good that whole fight.
That was the one Ponzinibbio was lighting him up with leg kicks, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Means took him out. Alex Oliveira was his debut in the weight class. Like, those are his last 5 fights. Like, I think there is a divide, Wonderboy and Hamzat, he didn't look that great against. Ponzinibbio at one time was up here. You get what I'm saying? But Tim Means, Alex Oliveira, he's looked good in the weight class. I think he fits well in this weight class. I think he's got a good chance of making a big run in this weight class. But we just need to see that consistency, and that's going to be something we talk about in every Kevin Holland preview.
It's the mindset thing, right?
Yeah. He's just kind of fucking around having a good time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That's great. Actually, I mean, I'm cool with that. But for what we kind of do on this show, you kind of have to talk about things a little bit deeper.
Doesn't it feel like he's the type of guy that if he really did flip that switch, if you will, he could really put together, I think, a really good run.
It's hard.
I don't know how far it could go.
I don't know how much it affects his training. Like, I don't know if he does he just sort of fuck around a lot of times while training. I have no idea. I'm not accusing him of that. I'm just saying, for what he is as a fighter, if he were, like you said, to be have more of that drive and consistency, then yeah, he's a problem, man.
He's talented, man. Yeah.
Very talented. He's only 29 years old or 30 years old, I think now, but
he's entering the sweet spot.
Clearly he could be more than he is, but he's also, if he took that away, would he be as popular as he is? Would he get these big spots like he's getting? He's sort of filling the Donald Cerrone role. A lot of people compare those two. He's kind of that guy. He's sort of a BMF in of himself.
Fight anybody.
Yeah. He's at a point where if he was in a future BMF matchup, it would not feel out of place.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's at that kind of spot. Anyways, Dominic, what fight you want to go over next? Anything else?
I mean, by golly, that's the main card, huh? I mean, the prelims are great. The very fun fights, I think, through and through. Good prospects. Some veterans sprinkled in.
How about the Black
Derrick
Beast?
Lewis is on this card.
Yeah.
Number 11 ranked. Strange that he's all the way back there now. I feel like he's been in that top 10, top 8 for so many years. Now he's fighting someone unranked. And Marcos Rogerio de Lima. 2 big old boys. I remember when this fight got announced, Noah said, it ain't going to last long in the Utah elevation. This is going to be sloppy. It's going to be nasty and sweaty. And someone is getting slept, ? Or will we as fans be left to fall asleep for this fight?
I was about to say, Dominic, how many times I got to tell you, stop toting that line with the guarantees here. If this fight goes longer than round 1, we're in trouble.
Yep.
We're in trouble.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to say, man. Derrick Lewis is just so much fun.
I feel like the first 2 minutes are going to be chaos, and if it isn't over, that's when you start sweating.
If you're Derrick Lewis, I think you come in here and you're like, what do you have to lose? You've lost 4 of your last 5.
Yeah.
Only win in that span was against Chris Dawkins, who's now went down a weight class. We're talking Cyril Gane, Tai Tuivasa, and the Sergeys, Polar Bear, and
both
Pavlovich. Most of those in pretty quick fashion. And a lot of those are some of the best heavyweights in the world. So this is that kind of appropriate step back.
Mm-hmm.
Rogerio de Lima used to, you would watch him and you'd go, this guy has, you'd probably say he has a worse gas tank. Like you would gas out really bad in his fights. He has seemed to have gotten better at that. He does seem to have taken a jump. He does seem like a guy who I believe fits in the top 15 of heavyweight. I still feel like I'm going to end up putting money on Derrick Lewis. I feel like he's a plus 180. And I know that De Lima has more paths to victory. He's got power on the feet. You saw what he did to Ben Rothwell. I mean, the guy he's got good hand speed for heavyweight, good power. Mm-hmm. And he's got the capabilities to wrestle. Yes. He has more paths here, but when you have the one-shot power, when you have the most knockouts in UFC history like Derrick Lewis does, it's at heavyweight. What does he have to lose? I think he goes for it here. Kind of like how he did against Pavlovich. Didn't work out there. We'll see if it works out here. I'll probably end up throwing something on him.
And I'm not going to bat an eye at that, Noah, as you should.
I'm not saying that the odds are wrong, but at heavyweight, even more unpredictable than any other weight class. So
one shot's all it takes.
Anything else I want to talk about? I think that's pretty much it for me. You know what? Actually, I'll talk about one more. Not one that maybe people would expect us to talk about. Dominic, where do you stand on Miranda Maverick right now?
Yeah, we're looking back on that last fight with Jasmine.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember. I felt like I had a big come down moment after that fight immediately. But then I kind of have been sitting and I'm looking at this fight. And I'm like, Jasmine has proved to be, I think, a lot better than what we expected coming in to the UFC. I think there's still something there with Miranda, but I need to see it soon. And that this is kind of the spot that she should thrive. Priscila, Cachoeira, zombie girl, whatever her name is, she's wild. She's wild. She's crazy, has fun fights. But Miranda shouldn't have an issue putting this into her world. And once it's there, maybe even getting Priscila out of there. If Miranda loses this one, the come down is real. And I have to really look at how I'm viewing her, because this is someone at one point I'm like, she's part of that 125-pound surge and all these up and comers, but right now she's on the outside looking in at all these other ones, including like Jasmine Jasudavicius. So she wins here in a dominant fashion. I jump a little bit back on. If she loses, that's a tough loss. I think a very hard loss to come back from.
Watching the tape on these two, it's weird because I would argue Priscila Cachoeira is the kind of matchup that usually Miranda struggles with the most. Because there's been one thing I've noticed in her losses with Jasmine, Aaron Blanchfield. The Blanchfield one's a little different, but something that's consistent, Dominic, is Miranda Maverick is at her best when she is able to put her opponent on their back foot, pressure, and that's usually when she's at her most effective as a striker. It also helps her get takedowns much easier. Whenever the roles are reversed and she's the one getting on the back foot, she is so much less of a fighter. Her striking is completely ineffective, and she just kind of wilts under the pressure of that. And Priscila Cachoeira is not near as talented as Miranda Maverick, but she's got power, especially for her weight class and, for the women. And she pressures and she blitzes, like all that. That's who she is. If Maverick gets a takedown here, I think that's probably the way it's going to go. Probably a submission win for Miranda. It just depends on who wins that kind of, that line there. Who's the one putting the other on the back foot? Miranda's going to have to come in here and earn that respect.
Yeah, she is.
Cachoeira don't respect anybody in there. You saw what she did to what's her name? She was like gouging eyes and shit.
Yeah.
So I still heavily lean Miranda Maverick, but it is the kind of matchup that you would not probably want her to have if you were gonna bet on her or something, which I did. Spoiler alert. But anyways, Dominic, with that, let's move on to Bellator Rizin 2.
Let us not forget now.
Still killing it with the fight posters, man. Bellator X Rizin, they killing the game on these fight posters, man. So this card is pretty loaded. This is, of course, a card where we are going to be getting 5 fights on Showtime, Dominic, but the actual Rizin part of this card, it's got like Juan Archuleta on it. Patricio Pitbull just got announced for it. That will be happening, I believe, after that part of the broadcast, but it will not be on Showtime. So it'll be like almost like a whole separate thing.
Sure.
So we'll just be watching the Showtime portion of this card. Main event, Patricky Pitbull taking on Roberto de Souza. De Souza stepping in here on very short notice because AJ McKee, unfortunately, is out with an injury. That means he's out of the lightweight Grand Prix too. Now, I've not heard any confirmation on if this. I'm assuming this is still a Grand Prix fight,
right?
Not heard for sure, but we'll operate under that assumption. Also, you will be seeing the first and potentially last Bellator men's flyweight champion be crowned here because Kyoji Horiguchi taking on Makoto Shinryu. I only say the last because Bellator is likely being sold, and if they get sold to like PFL, I doubt Bellator will be around anymore. But at least you have a 125-pound champion, so that's
true.
Danny Sabatello taking on Magomed Magomedov. That's a big one.
Man.
Kana Watanabe taking on Veda Ortega. In the open card, Andre Korshkov versus Lorenz Larkin. Dominic, which fight are you most excited for on Bellator versus Rizin 2?
I feel like in terms of the action, you look at Andre versus Lorenz Larkin. I feel like that could be a very fan-friendly banger of a fight.
Seriously my pick, dude. I love that fight.
Dude, Lorenz Larkin, by the way, number 9 at welterweight. He's number 7 at middleweight. This man's still got it going, Noah,
dude.
even up there in his 30s.
Such a slept-on fighter.
Slept on. I remember after his last win, we were talking about him. We talked about him on a cage side. Rewind even. Like, the guy's doing good for himself over in Bellator. I think that's the most fun fight to watch out for. And I guess in terms of implications, obviously Kyoji could win a title. Does Roberto de Souza win? And then he's advancing in the lightweight Grand Prix. And then you have number 4, number 5, Magomed versus Sabatello. There's a lot of good implications here. It's a very important card for a lot of these people. That's the fight that I'm looking out for. And maybe the storyline. I think the storylines and implications, I'm going to go with Danny and Magomedov. I want to see how Danny can bounce back against, the upper competition. I remember talking about his last fight and all that bullshit.
I don't want to get you on a roll again.
Yeah. I'm not going to dig into it.
I hope this is a guy on the level you're looking for. Because
yes, this is the fight I'm looking for now.
Bombs. I mean, this is a kid's show, man.
It's a kid's show.
Bombs. That's crazy.
And 2 phenomenal, fantastic grapplers. It might not be a fun fight, but I feel like we're going to see some beautiful transitioning and just really solid grappling and wrestling in that fight. So I think it's going to be fun. What are you looking at? I know you just said you agreed, Andre and Lorenz, in terms of the action. What's the storyline for you? Is there one sticking out to you?
It's so unfortunate AJ McKee's off this card because I was so excited for that fight. But we are big flyweight fans around here. So no doubt, all eyes for me and probably for Dom. Flyweight title. Horiguchi. I love Horiguchi, but his run in Bellator has been a disappointment so far, I would say.
Not been great.
It's not that he's looked bad. He's just not getting the wins. And going up against a guy that I'm completely unfamiliar with, Makoto Shinryu. I believe he fights for Rizin. This is going to be my introduction to him. And for all I know, he's about to be the flyweight champion. So I'm going in here with no expectations, but I'm very excited to see how it goes. Just because both guys, obviously, Horiguchi, I believe, he fought for, he was the Rizin. That's how he came over to Bellator.
Champ.
Yeah, he was with, that's right. For a second, I almost convinced myself. I'm like, wait, was it 1? No. Okay, Rizin. I think that's the fight the storyline I'm most interested in because I just know so little about how that fight will go.
Can Roberto pull off the upset? Short notice against number 2, Patricky Pitbull, implement himself into the sweepstakes for the lightweight Grand Prix? Guy's beaten Spike Carlisle. He fought AJ McKee and lost. He submitted Tafik Musayev in the past. No slouch for Patricky here, I would say, at least.
No, definitely not a slouch. I would say that he is a live dog in my opinion because he's very talented. I mean, using Spike Carlisle as a notable win. I mean, come on.
You know, I had to
some,
do it.
Have some respect for yourself.
Maybe I should have put Tafik first and then Spike.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, you put Spike first. Like, come on, man. No, I like Spike, but De Souza. God, I don't know how I think that fight's gonna go.
Because even Patricky lost 3 out of his
I
last
will
4
admit,
here.
I'll admit with Patricky, I am not that high on him anymore.
Yeah.
So for him to lose to a short notice opponent, there's Roberto Souza is a very talented short notice opponent.
Tons of finishes too.
Yeah. So it would not surprise me. Patricky he's a durable guy though. It's going to be tough. Like D'Souza is going to have to really try to crack him, I think, early because I think the longer it goes, the more it favors Pitbull.
Yeah.
Not really. This is a question. Not really. I guess for this card because we're technically not watching the Rizin portion. But what do you make of his brother Patricio taking a fight on a month notice, and he's
in the ring
losing at 135 pounds?
Yeah,
he's fighting, I believe, a rising kick or some kickboxer. He's fighting at like 154 pounds, about 20 more than he fought for last month. What do you make of it, Dom? Why is this happening? Why is Rizin doing this?
They're just trying to, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that sale coming down. Maybe just Rizin's going to take over Bellator and then Rizin's going to merge with the PFL. Yeah, now, I don't know. I think it's cool, though. They're trying to stack this card, obviously. It's good for the Rizin crowd, I'm sure, to get some of these Bellator fighters over to watch for their liking. I wonder how it's going to go. I know they're they're having intermissions between like 3 cards and they're taking out the cage. They're putting up a ring and stuff. So I know Patricio is going to be in that style. It could be fun. There's other. What were some of the other names you said that are competing later on as well?
I know.
Archuleta. Okay. Yeah. And I could be wrong here. Is Musayev even competing in one of these matches?
He might
I feel like I may have saw his name, but I think it's fun that these collaborations, these type of cards get to happen. I know they did. It was it New Year's? Is that when it was coming into this year? Right?
You're sitting over, man. You're over there like, well, was it this? Was it that? I don't know why I
think it was a New Year's card.
That's not even a big that's not something that you should remember. It just cracked me up that like 3 times in like 10 seconds. You're like, what? Was it like this? Was it like that? No, yeah, it was New Year's. It was New Year's Eve, Dom.
So hey, we'll do it now. Then we'll get a 2024 New Year's card. Bellator times Rizin 3.
PFL times Rizin 1.
PFL times Bellator. 1 championship times PFL times Rizin times Bellator. Purchasing under one roof. 2024.
Dominic, buddy, you cut out for like 5 seconds there. And I was fully expecting, well, I don't know, it might have got picked up on the recording.
I hope so.
But it cracks me up because I was fully expecting when you came back, it might have been more than 5 seconds. I was fully expecting you to be like done talking and we were going to cut or something. And it comes back and you were still going on the verse. I'm like, Jesus, how many promotions did he name while I wasn't able to hear him? So, well, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end it. Dom, fight announcements. Let's get into that.
Today was fun.
Hot off the presses. UFC Singapore, Dominic. Giga Chikadze is back. It's been a long time. Since we've seen Giga. What was that? That's the first card of 2022? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, a year and a half.
Don't know why.
No clue. But he's taking on Bruce Leroy. Alex Caceres here. Also, we got 2 fights announced for September 23rd. I believe this is an Apex card, which, boo.
Yeah.
But they're great fights. Rafael Fiziev taking on Matosh Gamrot. Definitely an important fight. Who's coming, who's going in the lightweight division.
Ooh.
Also, Bryce Mitchell and Dan 50K Gay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I probably shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have put the E separated from the G. Probably shouldn't have done that. Also, November 11th, UFC 295, Madison Square Garden, Dominic. Derek Brunson taking on Roman Dolidze. Dolidze was kind of rumored to potentially be fighting Ikram on this card this Saturday. He's not. He's taking on Derek Brunson, potentially the final fight of Derek Brunson's UFC career. What do you make of these fights? What are you most excited for? What are you low on? What are you kind of not feeling? Tell me all of it.
Well, I have to add in one more, and I feel like you left it off intentionally to make me sad. Sodiq Yusuff also going with Edson Barboza on October 14th. 6 ranked featherweights announced today.
Yeah, I totally just I was typing those when I got home from work, so I totally just forgot. But I'm glad you brought it
to
up.
make me upset.
Yeah.
But no, I love all these fights. I think they're all great. I feel like I have so much intrigue on how Giga is going to look after what will be, what is that, August 26, 18, 19, 20 months, I don't know, something like that. A long time since we've seen Giga get crushed by Calvin Kattar, and he's going up against Bruce Leroy, another fun, long, rangy, wacky striker, but good takedowns, has really good submissions as of late, really the best he's ever looked as of late. I think that's actually a really interesting fight. It's a good comeback for Giga, a really nice step up for Alex to get him into maybe top 10 territory. I love all of this featherweight stuff coming together. Doesn't it feel good to get 6 ranked guys matched up together? We're getting some progress going. Max is fighting also in August. So that's 8 total of the top 15. Why Volkanovski is getting his wrist fixed up, his elbow, whatever. I like it. We're moving. We're getting things going. This next chapter for the 145ers.
We need it. We need a lot of that. And I'm all for it. The Fiziev Gamrot fight's awesome.
It is, isn't it?
Even though it's the one that doesn't fit the bill here, but that fight is awesome. I hate that that's going to happen at the Apex, but
it's literally a week after the freaking Independence Day card, Mexican Independence card.
Yep. As far as Giga versus Alex goes, definitely a matchup that if Giga doesn't win, you have to start having concerns. Yeah. Alex is good, don't get me wrong, but we've seen him take this jump before. He did it against Sodiq Yusuff, and it did not go his way. He's good, but he's kind of like in a role where if you lose to him, if you're a guy who is supposedly on the verge of being elite, and you lose to Alex Caceres, that probably means there's something that needs to be fixed, or maybe you're just not that guy. You're not that guy, pal.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out. Is Giga Chad that guy?
Giga Chad.
Derek Brunson, Roman Dolidze, I think is very solid. A nice addition to that MSG card. I like Derek Brunson.
What do you make of him still fighting, by the way? When he's like actively talked about retirement, I feel like for so long now.
Well,
coming back for more.
This was his plan, though, he said, I believe, because I thought he said before the Cannonier fight, I thought he said he had 3 fights left. So he did Cannonier, and then he fought Dricus. This would line up for that to be it. Is he from New York?
I think he's from like one of the Carolinas, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Because I was going to say that'd be kind of cool if he was going out in his home state. But yeah, that's
in
pretty
a big
much
spot for Roman.
I mean, I probably didn't mention Sodiq, Dom, because let's be honest, his like fight breakdowns, those videos are not that funny.
Oh, you're so lame, Noah.
No, those
videos
are so lame.
Man, it's all about the mathematical algorithms, Noah.
Is that like a joke he makes or something?
Oh, this guy. Come on, get off here. Blazin Bets.
If people hated my take about 10 p.m. start times, they're really going to hate that one.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Blazin Bets, Dominic.
I got to do something
for this one.
I got to do something, Noah. That's the storyline for the week.
No, there's no storyline.
If I go down 4, I'm down a month. Think of it that way.
Yeah, you're fucked.
I'm down a month with 5 to go.
You're fucked being down 3. You were fucked to lose 1, the first one to me. Losing a single week was where you messed up.
I don't appreciate that, but you're probably right.
Because giving me any sort of lead, I mean, you might as well have just ate the wings after week 1.
Yeah,
would have saved you a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Damn. You're not wrong.
Here's the storyline this week. The storyline is I'm going to do what I do best, and that's kick your ass at Blazin Bets.
I wish I could talk more shit.
And
but
I
my
can't
statistics do
wait.
not
And I
allow.
can't wait till I'm up another point and we get on to do our recap Sunday and Dominic's hitting me with the, oh gosh, jolly, I wish I will hit. And man, no, I'm so glad you hit. And I just enjoy being friends, and there ain't no competition here at all. I can't wait to hear that. I want you with a straight face to keep your composure, that I know it's an act, and I just want to see you be forced to keep it as I build this lead.
The more the league goes, the uglier it's going to get for me. The face is going to come off.
Should I get into my bets? I feel like I've done enough trash talking.
I mean, as it goes in golf, you would have the tee box. You're coming off a win. You go first.
Actually, because you said that, I want you to go first because I hate
All
golf.
right. Bet number one, and it's been in the brain for a long time. Had to do it. Wish I could have got on it while the odds were still more in my favor. It's 1.5 units down on Alex Pereira money line plus 110.
Whoa.
Is what I got him at. I'm not seeing him at pluses anymore. It's like minus 105.
Yeah.
Might as well
Pick
be a
'em,
plus, but yeah, it's a pick 'em. So I've just, ever since the fight got announced, I've had this inkling that he is going to not only beat Jan Blachowicz, he may just starch Jan Blachowicz, get a huge knockout, put himself now in a title fight with Yuri Prohaska, and what is a fantastic matchup to think about in my brain, but that's a Monday thing to discuss. I'm high on Alex here. I think he's going to fill out at 205. I think all those questions that I posed earlier, he will answer. He will rise to the occasion and put away Jan Blachowicz for his 205 debut. Bet number two, two-leg parlay, plus 111. This is one of those bets I told no off recording. I kind of rearranged some of these going in. This was one of them. I originally had Gabriel Bonfim and Miranda Maverick money lines put together. Then I really got to digging and I looked into it more, and I'm thinking, let's take a chance here. Let's get some plus money on the board. So he brought it to plus 111. Gabriel Bonfim to win by finish over Trevin Giles. All 14 wins have been by finish. Every single loss for Giles has been by stoppage. Miranda Maverick to win by submission or decision. 10 of her 11 wins have come by that. Priscila, all 4 of her losses are by sub or decision. It's make or break for Miranda. Gabriel Bonfim is the better Bonfim brother, and I think he's going to prove it in a big way and move to 15-0 come Saturday night.
You're really getting a risk going there.
I took a little chance.
Submission or decision with Miranda Maverick. Jeez, real.
It went from minus 143 to plus 111.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to rearrange, kids. Bet number 3, 3-leg. Was this money line? No, this is violence parlay, minus 103. Kopilov, Roberto inside the distance. Luis de Lima inside the distance. Oh boy, why am I going to have to clench my ass the most for that one out of these 3? I don't know. And Giles Bonfim inside the distance for the reasons I just said. All those should be violent. All those should be reckless and ugly. Minus 103. I'll take it as basically.
Sorry, can I ask you a question? What was the odds for Luis de Lima to go to not go to distance?
To not go the distance, minus 650 by itself.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's about what I thought, but I was curious.
I think it was minus 280 for Kopilov, minus 650, and then minus 380 for Bonfim's fight.
Okay.
So put those together for the violence parlay. Bet number 4, already talked about earlier, plus 300. I'm trying to get my spot on the wall for the Joeys at the end of the year for our betting segment, and Tony Ferguson may just bring it home for me. Money line over Bobby Green at plus 300. I said it all. I'm not saying it again. Bet number 5, I hinted at it. Now I'm confirming it, and I may throw another unit on it. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, money line, minus 150 over Michel Pereira. I get it, and Noah posed great points in the breakdown, but I'm struggling to see him fight the way he needs to win this one. I think Wonderboy outpoints him, uses the range, gets it done, the karate boy. And the final bet, for now, 2-leg parlay, minus 112. Matthews Flowers inside the distance. Short notice for Flowers from the Contender Series. I actually think that's going to be a pretty violent fight. Vergara Salvador to start round 2. After what I saw Vergara go through in his last fight with Daniel Lacerda, I'm pretty sure he's not going to get finished in round number 1. Maybe in round 2 he will, but that's okay for this bet. Salvador's where it gets interesting, but he's been more of a decision guy during his UFC tenure under the banner. I think that one can at least get through 5 minutes. That's the 6. Your turn. Go.
Yeah.
You said you
Yeah.
love this card.
It's a tough lineup for you, Dom. It's a tough
I know.
lineup for you.
6-0, 7 units. That's the goal.
I'm just. Did you say you put a unit and a half on Wonder Boy?
It's 1 unit for now. I might
Okay.
add a unit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Dominic had said things were going to change. He was going to go back to the drawing board, and I see the same fucking bets from this guy. I mean, just Dominic, what happened to your balls? You know, what happened to
They're in my ass.
those nice balls that you used to have? You know, I remember a time when Dominic was willing to take that chance, willing to make that leap. You have allowed yourself to become a prisoner of the moment, sucker. And I'm about to throw you 6 feet deep with my plays, Dominic. We start with the main event, 2 units. Ring the bell, the siren. Yeah. Dustin Poirier to win and over 1.5 rounds at plus 140.
Ooh.
Co-main event, Alex Pereira to win and under 1.5 rounds plus 225.
Okay. Look at these same games.
Yeah, another same game. It keeps going. Bobby Green to land more significant strikes. Dominic, I got a little stat about this one.
Okay.
I got this. This leg was minus 330. Bobby Green, outside of the Islam Makhachev fight, which you know how that went, takedown right away and whatnot. He has not been outstruck by an opponent since his draw to Lando Venata back in 2016 or 2017. Sorry.
So even in all the losses, he's outstriking.
He has outstruck every opponent. So I'm taking him to land more significant strikes here. Also, Dominic, I'm taking at least one knockdown.
Okay.
That brings that same game parlay to plus 180. That's both for the Bobby Green Tony Ferguson fight. Next, this one. So these are 3 bets, but admittedly, only one of them can hit. So they're all for the same fight.
Oh.
First one, Michael Chiesa by decision plus 330. I thought this was great value. I think his most likely route to victory here is a decision plus 330. Are you kidding me?
Is this a unit on all 3?
This is a unit on this one. The other 2 are a half unit.
Okay.
So then the next 2, half unit on each of them. Kevin Holland, round 2, plus 450. Kevin Holland, round 3, plus 900.
Okay.
Round 1's obviously in the picture here for Kevin Holland.
Yeah, you already threw out the dream of how it's going.
Yeah,
though.
But the 450, the 900, I really was considering doing a Kevin Holland submission here because I do think I actually think that's more likely than a knockout in this fight for him. But I preferred the round props here. Half unit on each of those. Hopefully at least one hits. I tried to spread the units up so that I would get maximum profit no matter what. Obviously, it'd be most ideal if Kevin Holland wins this fight in round 3.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter if the half unit on round 2 plus 450 or Michael Chiesa by decision at plus 330 hits, I pretty much walk away with the same profits. So
gotcha.
Tried to line it up that way. Last one as of now, Miranda Maverick to win and over 1.5 rounds at minus 110.
4 same game parlays.
That's dude, I was loving the board. I was trying to change it up. This is where it took me. We'll see if it works out. It rarely does. But I'm confident. I'm at an all-time confidence right now. The Miranda Maverick one also. Like, I wanted to take her by submission, but it was only plus 180.
Yep.
And I don't really like the idea of taking finished props like that unless I'm getting a little more bang for my buck, if you get what I'm saying. So that's why I held off. But I do believe in her capability still. For it to go over 1.5, she can still get a finish. Just can't be in the first round and a half. So
there it is.
Also for Spence Crawford, I'll just throw out. I had a couple bets for Spence Crawford. These 2 are also kind of the same way as the Holland Chiesa ones, like only one can hit. Tried to spread out the units. 2 units on Terrence Crawford to win by decision at plus 180. And then just 1 unit on Terrence Crawford to win in rounds 7 through 12 plus 450.
Okay.
So once again, still walk away with close to the same profit if either one of those hits. I'm heavily favoring Terrence Crawford, obviously. So
is that the vibe? Is that the story for the most part?
he's like a minus 150. So
Okay.
he's it's a Dustin versus Justin type dynamic and prediction.
How fitting, then. That's perfect.
Yeah. But that's it. That's the slate for now. Again, will remind everybody to follow us on Twitter if you would like to see the full betting slate at the BAJ MMA.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Noah Baker MMA. I post my picks over there, live bets, all that stuff.
Sure.
Dominic, Twitter, Instagram at DSleep14. And Dominic, I think that's it. I think we're going on to closing statements, right?
That's how we finish it.
Point of the show, me and Dominic can talk about anything and everything, MMA related or not. So, Dominic, do you have anything for closing statements today?
Yeah, we got to talk about one thing today.
Okay. What you got?
Chunky salsa, non-chunky salsa. You have to pick what is it and tell me why chunky salsa is the big loser in this situation.
Oh, man.
Tell me you're not chunky salsa.
Dominic, you've lost your way.
Oh,
you've lost your way.
It's
not even for the reason you think. It's not even the reason you think. Dominic, you used to come on here and you knew you had a good pulse on the people. You knew what questions that got the people going. What have you turned into, pal? Chunky salsa or no chunky salsa? The fuck is this? Who cares? It's salsa.
No, it's not, though.
I'll eat either or. I will eat either or, Dominic, and not even notice the difference.
Wow. Really? You're not a texture guy when you're eating food?
It's salsa. Who cares if it's
got let's bring
chunks
another
in it?
thing in here. Crunchy peanut butter, smooth peanut butter, creamy peanut butter.
Do not care.
Oh.
What do you go with?
You got to go smooth and creamy, baby. Come on. And I'm saying it's on my brain because...
Don't like the way you said creamy. Also, your shirt looks like you are literally peanut butter.
It shout out, by the way. New album tonight, guys. Be sure to listen. Or I guess it's already out because this comes out on Friday. Anyway, the salsa was fresh in mind because... And this is a whole other thing. I want to just make this known. Chili's. Everybody knows Chili's.
Don't
baby back ribs.
Please don't
do
this to me, Dom. Do not say it.
I don't know if he knows what I'm going to say or not, but they do have the best chips and salsa known to man
this is what I fucking
on the planet. Pound for pound. I'm putting Chili's chips and salsa up against any chips and salsa that I have ever eaten. And by the way, their salsa is not chunky with tomatoes, Noah.
Dude, this is just oh my god, dude. You're very frustrating sometimes. Do you have like when your mouth opens and you're about to say something just crazy, do you not for a second have any like little thing in your brain saying, hey, maybe not say this, maybe not make a fool out of myself, maybe have some self-awareness, any of that?
No.
I mean,
you gotta
Chili's, Dominic. Have you Chili's? You're gonna say a place like Chili's has the best anything in the world? You are crazy. Look, I'm not gonna pretend like I go out of my way to eat at some of those local places where you always get better food. I admit, I always eat at the chain places. I eat at the.
You do have a point there, though. That is true. Yeah.
No, that is the point. That is the point. Like Chili's probably doesn't have the top 1 millionth salsa. You just haven't been
blasphemous.
You just haven't had good salsa. That's what that means.
I've had a lot of chips and salsa though.
No, you probably have ate a few different types of Tostitos salsa and think you're an expert.
Oh, see, those are chunky too. Also, shit.
No idea. Had no clue. Just salsa. But
no.
I at least admit it. Like, I know that when I go to Olive Garden, I love Olive Garden. I love the
Sure.
breadsticks. I love the salad. I don't even get an entree. I just eat the breadsticks and salad the whole time. But I know, like, I'm not going to come on here and tell you it's the best Italian food in the world or that they have the best breadsticks in the world.
Hmm?
They're my favorite breadsticks. But I fully know that any other actual high quality Italian place blows it out of the water. And you
Including
had the
Fazoli's.
nerve. Fazoli's. Go ahead. Go ahead. Double up on this, Dominic. Go ahead
No, I'm
and
just
say
saying.
no. Say
Fazoli's
Fazol-
breadsticks any day over the Garden of Olives. That's facts
done?
too.
Are you still talking, or is it my
You
turn
may
to
think
talk?
this is a bagel bite pizza roll situation, though, but I think I'm gonna have the favor here. Finally, for food,
What do you think?
chunky
I
salsas
think
to the wayside.
I don't
Chili
think people
naders
don't
unite.
give. Nobody cares about salsa. First off, cheese and queso much better to dip your chips in. By the way, salsa is like, who cares?
Pound for pound, yes, I'm with you there. I'm taking queso over salsa. Yes, yes.
Also, the breadsticks argument, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh no,
Dumbest
you're
thing I've ever
crazy
heard.
now. You're crazy.
Fazoli's is
And
Fazoli's.
full free.
But
All you
see,
can
this is
eat.
the thing. We're
All you can
arguing,
eat.
Dominic, us arguing about who's got the better breadsticks between Fazoli's and Olive Garden is like a guy my size and me arguing about who's faster. It's like, you're still slow as fuck, buddy.
But someone's got to win. And I'm
Someone's
taking
got to
you in the
win.
race.
But it's really just, I mean, is it really worth the argument? Because Olive Garden blows it out of the water.
oh,
But
no,
but I know that Olive Garden's not like high quality Italian food, and I'm okay with that.
Mm.
I bet you love Taco Bell salsa too.
No, I'm not really. Well, I might take it another level here. Taco Bell's whatever. It's whatever.
That's because you don't drink.
Do they have salsa at Taco Bell?
I don't know. They probably
Oh.
have it in something. You don't drink. That's your problem. You don't have those, like, and when you do drink, you're not doing like the bar crawl, like the bar
True.
walk back home, and it's like 3 a.m. and you're
True.
kind of sweaty. You're tired, but you can't go to bed because you're still like drunk.
Sure.
That's why you don't really appreciate Taco Bell.
Yeah. I understand that.
I feel like I haven't had to do a closing statement like in months. And it's because
I've gotten
you
so much
keep-
better, Yeah.
No,
I just bring out these great
This is
points.
an all-time low for you.
I couldn't be higher.
I just can't believe your question. Our first one was like, I don't even remember. Like, what's the best type of beat-ups wing or something, or boneless or bone-in?
Start bone-in, boneless, the steak,
And
bagel
that's a
bites,
real
pizza
argument. That's something
rolls.
that people care about. Then you come on here and say chunky salsa or no chunky salsa. Like, okay, you and the 5 people that care about that can have yourself a little.
And
debate.
all 5 of them will all comment right now, timestamp it. Smooth.
Those
salsa
5 people just so
over
happen to
chunky
be
salsa.
in our 335 subscribers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Top tier.
Yeah. My name's Noah Baker. That's Dominic Sleeve. We are but just 2 of the below average Joes, and we'll see you guys on Monday.